Thank you, brother. Thank you. My God, half my job is already done. All of you are already awake. So all is well in the world, I can say. Look, so lunch was served, and I realized that over there you had ice cream, you had some cakes and some pastries, and you had some Rajbhog. But what I didn't find was any chocolates. So I've got about 9 chocolates over here. These are Le Rev. I promise they are chocolates, and I have proof right at the back because she just ate one. And we'll ask some questions along here. Whoever actually starts giving the best answers will start getting these chocolates. I'm going to give this over to my colleague over here so that you don't have to walk over here. She will come and give this to you guys. Does that work? Yeah? We'll make it interactive. By the way, quick show, who likes dark chocolate? We'll have an interactive session then. These are some of the best dark chocolates that Delhi has to serve, so please be very, very interactive about this. But before we get into that, I just wanted to take you all through what PeopleStrong actually is, very, very quickly. So, what's our purpose? To bring joy, energy, and meaning to work. I think the previous panel that was here, hats off to them. Being a startup is tough. Being a startup in the social space is tougher. Being a young person who started a startup in the social space is the toughest. So firstly, I'd just like all of us just put our hands together for the previous panel. Huge respect for them for what they're doing. But again, joy, energy, and meaning for work, I'm just deriving it from there itself. Superlative employee experience, coming back to the whole HR tech side of things, we measure the right things, and we actually provide one source of truth to all the companies. Very, very quick introduction about what PeopleStrong does. What we are is really a comprehensive HCM platform, right? So we have everything that you could potentially think of from recruitment till exit and beyond, right? Integrations, APIs, whatever you want, we could do that, right? I'm not going to go through each one of them because time is limited. But really, we have actually implemented this across about 500 plus large organizations. So any large conglomerate that you could potentially think of, we'd most probably be working with them. If you look at the Tata Group, if you look at the Aditya Birla Group, the Muthoot Group, Murugappa, we've worked with them, right? And some of them have taken us end to end, and some of them has taken us as a very point solution. And what that does is, we've also just started working with LIC. That's a government, so that gives us a completely new perspective on implementations or anything else that you might want to look at, because government is a great place to be working with, and we're really looking forward to the entire segment coming together for us. But what that does is, it's given us an immense amount of knowledge, right? We know a thing or two about implementations, right? And I'm not going to necessarily talk only about our implementations or how we implement, but what can actually go wrong in doing that. And I was discussing this with our head of implementation the other day, and we realized that everybody wants this after the implementation. Bolte hain, boss, implementation aisa hona chahiye. I should be sitting on the beach sipping a pina colada or having my wine. How many of you have had any such implementation? Damn. 1%. You've had the pina colada, not necessarily the implementation, right? No, so I agree with that, right? So this is the dream implementation that everybody wants. Everybody wants कि यार बिल्कुल perfectly होना चाहिए. Unfortunately, how many of you felt like this during an implementation? Oh, damn, we have an interactive session. Okay, so this is really what the reality is coming out as, right? Now, how do you go from here to there? When we started going down the whole value chain, we realized that there are a few things that we needed to do to be able to do this. You would have heard of the form, norm, storm, perform stages. Everybody is aware of that? Yeah? So we'll just sort of divvy up what all is actually happening across this, right? So first, you have the kickoff. Then you have the workshops. What's this stage? The norm stage? You're just getting to know each other. This is going to be the norm. Who's the implementation manager? What are they doing? And then you go towards data sharing. Please correct me if I'm missing any stage. Huh? Please feel free to just reach out. Whoever is the most interactive will get the first chocolate. Data sharing and configuration, right? This is what happens. You'll share the data, then somebody will go and configure the whole system for you and say, boss, ab aap log isko use karne lag jao. But this is really where the norm is. Okay, till now everything is fine. We understand what are the rules, regulations, processes, policies, blah, 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 and we'll get into the configuration stage. Configuration will typically come back to your partner, and the partner will say, yeah, boss, I'm all sorted. And then they'll start, some things will start niggling. Oh, but what about that thing that we had actually spoken about? And what about that thing? You had shown us that at that time, but it's not here. And then this happened, and then that happened. That's where the whole UAT starts breaking up. And then you have the storm phase. Would you agree with this? This is the stormiest of all phases. When you're actually going into UAT and you realize, hello, this is not what we had agreed upon. What we had agreed upon was something completely different, and you're showing me something completely different. How are you going to manage that, right? And then finally, you have the hypercare and BAU. Once you get through all of this, that's when you start performing. After all of this is when you can actually get to some drinks. Maybe, again. So what we'll do is we'll just quickly go through some of these stages. So the form stage, kickoff, workshops. What have we seen? This is a framework that we've got. By the way, please, you don't need to sort of, take down any photographs and stuff. At the end of this slide, at the end of these slides, I'll put up a QR code. You all can scan over there. And we're actually making out a complete checklist or the best implementation guide, which we will then sort of send across to you all. So you can do that later as well. It'll have all of this and much more. So right now, I'm just going to talk through the framework, yeah? So aligned to outcomes. How many of you have actually had discussions where the CEO turns around and says, boss, ye kya hai? This is not what we wanted. What we wanted was something else. The problem that happens over there is many times when we've seen is that you don't have executive sponsorship. Somebody somewhere has actually said, this is the way that we want it, but they haven't yet agreed on something. And then when it gets to the front, you say, this is not the outcome that we wanted. What are we going to do? Process of delivery also has to be worked upon. Agreed project deliverables. Responsibility kiski kya hai? I'm responsible for making sure that data comes in. I'm not responsible for the data being right. This is a big issue that happens a lot of times. Data becomes a big issue. Your data, your responsibility. My system, my configuration. Agreed? If yes, then let's move forward, right? Agree on ways on communication and regular steer comms. One of the biggest reasons for failures that we have always seen in many companies, wherever we've been called in again, is that they haven't actually been meeting regularly with the steer comm. The steer comm meeting has not happened. Steer comm doesn't necessarily mean that the vendor comes and the client comes and the client starts grilling the vendor. That's not a steer comm. That's a review. A steer comm is where the sponsorship team from the vendor side and the client side, both are sitting on one side of the table and the project delivery team is on the other side. And the client's delivery manager is the one who's presenting the status of the implementation. Please understand this point. It's a very important point. The minute you actually ask the vendor team to start proposing what exactly is happening, you will always find excuses coming up. The minute you say, boss, all four of you, 2 from your client, 2 from the vendor, all 4 of you are the project delivery team, you will not have any issues coming up over there. And of course, please get your relevant people over there. Internal facilitation planning. Who will be responsible for getting these activities done? Who is your Spock? Does he have the authority? A lot of times, the project managers themselves don't have the authority to move things internally, and they've been handed over things. Define design principles. Very critical element. When all else fails, when you're not able to agree upon anything that's actually happening, so you're not able to agree, no, we should do it this way, we should do it that way. No, let's look at these design principles. Whatever is agreeable inside these design frameworks is what we will implement. Now, before we move on, how many of you have never had any problem in any of this? This is a chocolate question, by the way. No? Okay. How many of you have had a problem in only one of this? Everything else has been absolutely fine. Okay. Oh, one. Only one? Do tell us what. Sir? Deliverable part. Okay. So no agreement on deliverable. Yes, ma'am. Fantastic. So requirement changes keep on happening. Perfect. So we'll come to that. Priyanjali, can we please have a chocolate for the lady? Thank you for interacting, and for the gentleman as well. Thank you for interacting. Now, so if all of you have faced problems over here, these are all things that we will sort of talk about in detail, how not to actually create these problems and what are the systems to be implemented inside your own organization as a client or as a vendor to make sure that the things don't necessarily go back, right? Muthoot Capital is a client of ours. One of the places where we never ever, okay, I'm running short of time. One of the places where we actually had one of the best and smoothest implementations is this one. Why? Because it had executive leader sponsorship. The executive leader was working along with us and sitting on the sponsorship table and saying, steercom, main karungi. Every 15 days, there was a steercom that was done. Each one of these elements was ticked off perfectly, and we went about doing, there was no problem in any of these elements, right? Then we come to the norm area. Norm is basically data sharing and configuration. What's your internal testing? When I say internal testing, this is not yet at UAT stage, by the way. You're actually before UAT. Deep requirements. Understand everything. Document everything. Stakeholder collaboration. Is everybody aligned to the outcome that is going to come? How is that going to work? Data governance and documentation. What's your data strategy? How are you going to sort of transfer that data? Is it going to be in batches? Is it going to be incremental? All of that. Now, all of this is way too much to be sort of crunched into a 10 to 15-minute talk. You can actually download it later. HDFC Ergo, another client of ours. One of the places where we realized that from a data perspective, they had so much of data and so much of integrations and everything that needed to happen that we were able to firstly literally hold a workshop only for the integration side, make sure that all the integrations are working perfectly so that everything comes into one place. They also wanted other applications to come into and sit inside the HR Tech app, our application. We were able to do that very well, only because we had all of this sorted over here, right? So that was the norm stage. Okay, now we're sorted. Now we come to the storm stage, and I'll talk about Amar Raja over here. And why am I talking about Amar Raja over here? Is because we never had a storm with Amar Raja. Amar Raja has been a client of ours for the past 6-7 years now, and they moved over completely from a legacy ERP, and then they sort of we made an entire plan. The first point over here is very, very important. They literally spent 3 weeks on planning to test. How will you actually test? Who all will test? What will be the results? How will it be calibrated? Everything came back and was put over here. Contingency planning was to the nth degree. When I say contingency planning, if this fails, what's going to happen? How will we ensure that all our 14,000 or 15,000 people at that time, now 27,000 people, will be perfectly sorted? They made sure that happened. So we've actually done all of this 100%. And then you come to the whole perform side, right? Where you actually say, hey, look, what are the SLAs timelines? What are the app support? What's the time of support? 24/7 or business time? This is just after the implementation, not forever and ever and ever, but just after the implementation. So that's after you do all of this perfectly is when you will get to this, you think? No, you can't get to this. I think the reality drink is yahan tak pahunch jayenge. Right? This is the reality drink that we'll have. Now, I have about 6 more chocolates left. Am I right? 6 more chocolates left. The first 6 people who actually please shout out what their name is and their company is will get that, because we didn't really interact too much because the time is up. Okay. First, Amrita Verma को तो पहले दे दो आप पहले. फिर उसके बाद करते हैं. But no, I hope that this is good. In the meantime, you guys can just sort of take a screenshot of this and just sign up. The download is not yet ready. It will be ready in the next week or so. So we will just sort of send this across to you guys. But do please express your interest over here so that you all get the download, and we'll then be able to share everything, all these details, and give you an actual framework of how to go about making sure that your implementation is 100% right. So this is a small form. You just have to fill out those details, and you should be fine. Yeah? Did only Amrita get the chocolate? Only Amrita? What about the rest? Others got the learning. No, that's a good answer. Hopefully there was some learning, and hopefully some of these points resonated with you. I'm sorry the time was too short for us to dive deeper into each one of this. Literally each of these stages could literally last. I could talk the whole day for this. It's a very intense topic and very close to a lot of people's hearts, where you've felt, oh my God, this I've felt, this I've not felt. Yeah, exactly. That's the one. All right, thank you so much. Hopefully this was useful, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you.